this pattern is going to be a variation of a pheasant tail nymph, and quite a lot of variation. Really like this pattern. You can see I'm starting off with this kind of hot orange thread, and we will actually switch to black partway through this fly. I've got a size 14 in the hook, in the vise, and I don't think it's a 7/64 copper bead on the front. And so we'll go ahead and get that secured that way. And what we're going to want on this particular fly is we're going to want a bit of an orange hot spot on the end, or on its butt, I guess. So I'm going to take this orange thread just a little bit down around the bend, and then I'm going to bring it back up again to where we will tie in our materials. So the first material I'm going to tie in is just going to be what we'll use for a little bit of a hint of a ribbing, which is going to be some midge-sized emerald green tinsel. It's going to look about like that. So we'll go ahead and we'll tie that in, secure it into place with a couple of thread wraps, and then move a little bit backwards, and then I can just draw that material back rather than cut it off. That's just fine. And being a pheasant tail, of course, we're going to need some pheasant. And in this case, I've got dyed black pheasant tail fibers, or pheasant tail. So as usual, when I'm pulling the fibers off of any feather, I'm going to hold them up at about a 90-degree angle from the stem, and it will just keep those tips kind of in alignment. Once I have that in alignment, I'm going to pinch those ends tight with my fingers so that I don't lose the alignment. So this is how I do it anyway, before we get our pheasant tail, body, abdomen, and ribbing done, I'm going to go ahead and change out my threads right at this point. So I leave the orange attached. I'm going with a much lighter weight nano silk and a lighter color, because we're going to finish this off with some CDC. And I'll take this probably, right up to about that point, and then we can go ahead and clip off our orange thread here. And I'll just go ahead and turn that vise a little bit and make that cut. Okay, so now we're set up to just go ahead and move forward. We've got our thread and our bobbin cradle, so it's out of the way. I'm going to start out by wrapping these black pheasant tail fibers up the shaft of the hook. So I'm going to get those connected into just a set of hackle pliers here. Kind of get them pointing straight up as I possibly can. We still want that orange butt to be showing through, so I'm perfectly good with that. And we're not going to want to overlap much. We're not looking for a thick body here. Of course, my ribbing wants to follow us all the way up, and it just needs to be patient and wait for its turn. It's not its turn yet. Maybe take one more turn here. So there is our pheasant tail, and what I'm going to do is maintain the tension on that with your hackle pliers. Not so much you're breaking it off, but enough that everything doesn't come unwound. And this is one of those materials that will come unwound. It'd be interesting to see how this ribbing works, because it's just fighting me all the way through. I should have just stuck it in a material clip. Ribbing material is going to get its chance. So now we'll give the ribbing its turn. And you'll just, because this is black and it's a dark emerald green, it really is going to provide us more of a hint of a rib that will look really nice with this pattern. Just shows up really well against that black pheasant tail. So we've got our ribbing in now all the way up to the top, and we'll go ahead and tie that off as well so we don't lose track of it. So to tie in the CDC, we're going to go ahead and use a dubbing loop. I'm going to use this tool today just because I happen to have it really handy. It's pretty simple, just a hook. I'm going to hook that over the thread here, and then I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to drop it over the top. And then usually what I'll do with this is I'm going to take a couple of trips around that dubbing loop there just to kind of help secure it, hold it in place. Then I'm going to just kind of tie back where I want this collar to start, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move right back up towards the bead. We'll throw in a half a hitch so we can put this back on our bobbin cradle. So we've got just about everything ready to go for the last piece, and again, I'm using some CDC. This is going to be a light gray CDC. I've already prepared it, and I like to use these material clips like this for my CDC, so I can kind of clip the feather in, and then I can clip it off from the stem. Then I'll just grab my dubbing loop here, open it up, and I'll put my clip in here, and then I'm going to unclip that with this material clip. Is now free, clear, and I will now take this and I'm just spinning it. I'm spinning this dubbing loop hook thingy. What this does is it creates these really cool looking straggly legs. Okay, so you can see already that it's going to kind of be out there a little bit. So we've got ourselves on the bobbin cradle, so I'll just go ahead and use my rotary feature. I'll try a little bit to stroke these fibers backwards as I'm tying this forward. So that I can get more of these fibers laying backwards, which is kind of what we want in a soft collar kind of a way here. And with that, I'm going to be good. I'll keep the tension on this dubbing loop here just for a second while I get it tied off. And that's one of the advantages. I use dubbing loops from time to time. It just depends on what I'm doing. But one of the nice things about a dubbing loop is that you can use as much material as you want. And when you're done, you can just clip it off. And since it's already been tied down, you don't have to worry about your thread coming unhooked or unsecured. We're left with that. We'll go ahead and pull again those fibers back a little bit. And I'm just going to come on in and whip finish, and then we'll a few of those are longer than what I want them to be, so I'll go in and with my tweezers and we'll pluck some of those out, and then we'll call this one done. Okay, so there we go. I like to leave a few of these longer fibers, not too many of them, and if they're extra long, that's what I've done, is gone in and just used my tweezers and pulled them out. But this is the black pheasant tail variant here, using the CDC with the orange hot spot on the bottom. So good looking fly, and it fishes really well, so give it a shot.